Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most incredible naval battles in all of history. We're talking about a legendary showdown of brilliant strategy and raging fire that literally redrew the map of China forever. This is the story of the Battle of Red Cliffs. So let's just get right to the heart of it. The question that makes this story so unbelievable. How on earth does an army of just 50,000 soldiers face off against a force of over 200,000 and not just hold their ground, but win a total crushing victory? And really, to get a feel for how insane these odds were, you just have to look at the numbers. On one side, you have this colossal force led by the northern warlord, Cao Cao. It absolutely dwarfs the scrappy alliance of the southern armies. I mean, this wasn't just a battle. On paper, this was supposed to be a slaughter. To really understand how this incredible upset could have possibly happened, we first have to get to know the man commanding that giant army. He was a figure whose ambition was, well, as huge as the lands he'd already conquered. And that man was Cao Cao. He was a brilliant and, let's be honest, pretty ruthless leader. He was the chancellor for the very last Han emperor, and he had already consolidated almost all of his power in the north. Now he had just one final goal left, to bring every last inch of China under his command. And you have to appreciate the sheer momentum he had. His massive fleet was sailing down the Yangtze River like some kind of unstoppable force of nature. For the warlords holding out in the south, it really must have felt like the end of the world. Their options were just bleak. You either bend the knee or you get completely wiped off the map. But, when you're facing that kind of overwhelming threat, something interesting happens. Two rivals, who would normally be at each other's throats fighting for power, were forced to consider the absolutely unthinkable, joining forces just to survive. So who were these guys? Well, on one side, you've got Sun Quan. He controlled a pretty stable and wealthy chunk of territory in the southeast, and he was understandably a little hesitant to risk it all. And on the other side, you have Liu Bei. He was this brilliant strategist, supposedly descended from royalty, but he was basically a general without an army, constantly on the run. Alone, they were toast. The debate over what to do must have been just agonizing. Surrendering meant you'd be safe, sure, but you'd be a subject. Fighting seemed like absolute suicide. But the argument for resistance really boiled down to this one idea. If you fight, you have a slim, tiny chance to create a new future. If you surrender, you have no future at all. So, they chose to fight. Okay, so the alliance is formed, but they absolutely knew they couldn't win in a straight-up fight. Numbers just weren't on their side. They had to be smarter. They needed a plan that could take Cao Cao's greatest strength, his giant fleet, and turn it into his greatest weakness. And the man who came up with that plan was this guy, Zhou Yu, the brilliant commander of the Allied forces. He looked at Cao Cao's massive fleet, not with fear, but with a strategist's cold, calculating eye. He was searching for a crack in the armor, and oh boy, did he find one. This is where things get really interesting. See, Cao Cao had these hidden vulnerabilities. Most of his soldiers were from the north. They were horsemen and infantry, not sailors, and they were getting terribly seasick on the rough waters of the Yangtze River. So to try and solve this, Cao Cao made a huge critical mistake. He ordered his ships to be chained together to make them more stable. He basically turned his mighty fleet into one giant floating target. And that was the heart of Zhou Yu's plan. It was pure deception. Step 1, send a squadron of ships that are pretending to surrender. Step 2, pack those ships to the brim with super flammable stuff like reeds and oil. And step 3, the final, most crucial part, wait. Wait for a very specific southeasterly wind that would blow those fire ships right into Cao Cao's now stationary navy. The whole plan was incredibly daring. It was complex, and it hinged on perfect timing, and maybe just a little bit of luck. With everything set, the Allies just had to hold their breath and wait for the perfect moment to strike. And then, on a cold winter night, it happened. The wind, which almost always blew from the north, started to shift. The final piece of the puzzle just fell right into place. Under the cover of darkness, the small fleet of fire ships sailed out. To Cao Cao's men, it looked exactly like the defection they'd been promised. They actually welcomed the ships, completely clueless about the inferno they were carrying right towards them. As the fire ships got close, the crews lit the fuses, jumped into smaller boats, and just let the wind do the rest. The burning vessels slammed into Cao Cao's navy, and those very same chains that were meant to give them stability, now they meant there was absolutely no escape. The entire fleet became one giant floating funeral pyre. The devastation was just total. We're talking over 2,000 ships all chained together with zero chance of escape. The fire just leaped from one ship to the next, creating this uncontrollable inferno that lit up the whole night sky. Cao Cao's naval power wasn't just defeated, it was completely, utterly annihilated in just a few hours. A victory this big is never just the end of a battle. No way. It's the beginning of a brand new era. That inferno at Red Cliffs didn't just burn ships, it forged the very future of China. This timeline really puts it all into perspective. I mean, look at this. In 207, Cao Cao is dominating the north. He is right on the verge of unifying all of China. Just 1 year later, 208, the Battle of Red Cliffs completely shatters that dream. And by 220, this single event has paved the way for China to be formally split into 3 rival states. It was the start of a whole new age. For everyone involved, this battle was a complete reversal of fortunes. Cao Cao, who was once just one step away from total victory, was forced to retreat north, his power now contained. Sun Quan went from just defending his home to being the secure, solidified ruler of the south. And Liu Bei, the landless wanderer, finally got his chance to seize the moment and carve out his own kingdom in the west. So, in the end, Red Cliffs wasn't just a battle for survival. It was the battle that slammed the door shut on the old Han Dynasty and kicked open the door to the legendary, romantic, and very bloody era of the Three Kingdoms. It's just an incredible story of how clever strategy, ingenuity, and even the weather can overcome sheer brute force. And it leaves you with this powerful question to think about. How much of our history turns not on the size of an army, but on something as simple as the direction of the wind?